We're running out of time.
I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Ms. Moore, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And, you know, we have heard these fantastic, phenomenal numbers of how poverty was reduced and everybody did well and the middle class benefited from the Tax Cut and Job Act. Where are these numbers coming from? And maybe I'll start not with the Democratic witness, but Mr. Viard. Where did they get these numbers from?
Well, different people are certainly discussing the TCJA in different ways. Many of the numbers we've heard are simple comparisons across 2 different time periods of what happened after the TCJA to what happened before.
Okay, so
that's a very treacherous basis for comparison, obviously, because
that's a treacherous basis for comparison. Thank you for that. Excuse me, I'm just trying. I only have 5 minutes. I'm not in charge. The tax cut, you say, Mr. Viard, from 35% down to 21%. Was a wonderful thing, but the only drawback is that we didn't cut spending to make up.
Or offset it in some other way.
Right, we should have cut spending.
Well, you also could have done offsetting
but
tax increases.
So
for example, you could have taxed corporate income at the shareholder level.
Okay, so let me ask this. How does that declaration square with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act paying for itself?
It didn't.
Exactly.
Tax Cuts and Job Act lost revenue.
It lost revenue, the Tax Cut. Thank you so much for the record. Mr. Auerbach, you said maybe we should have this consumption tax because, you know, you'd have a broader tax base of elderly people old like me. And I mean, was that a tongue-in-cheek comment, or did you really mean that?
Well,
Eliminated poverty for the elderly, that would kind of bring it back.
I meant it, and I'm afraid I also am in that category. But remember that Social Security benefits are indexed for inflation, which means the lower half of the income distribution, who are the people who really rely primarily on Social Security benefits, would be protected against consumption
if we
tax?
don't get rid of Social Security, thank you, and just go strictly to this 30%. Let me ask, you know, a lot of retirees around here, I hate to see Mr. Romney go. I really do, because he had a lot of integrity. You know, him and his running mate for VP, Paul Ryan, who used to be the chair of this committee and was famous for making up the phrase takers versus makers, talking about the 47% of people who don't pay taxes. And so I just did a little back of the envelope math here. And if you're making minimum wage and you work full time, your gross income is $15,080. Your FICA would be $1,153. But this 30% tax would be $4,524 if you trust my little back of the envelope arithmetic. Is that fair? You know I'm talking to you, Mr. Hayes.
I'm happy to respond. The only part of your math that's incorrect is that under the Fair Tax Act, as written, there is an allotment that goes toward that $15,000 earner, which basically exempts them not from any tax.
They got to eat the food on a farm.
I'm sorry?
Do they have to eat the food on a farm in order to qualify for the...
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay.
Every American in this country is going to be eligible to apply for the prebate, which allows them to have spending up to the poverty level for that income group or unit group, family group, to be exempt from the fair tax. You correctly stated they're not exempt from the most regressive tax we have, the payroll tax.
Well, the most regressive is the sales tax.
I don't disagree.
It's my time. Mr. Berman, the earned income tax credit doesn't allow taxpayers between the ages of 18 and 25 to use that benefit. How is that fair? Would that, I'll let you go for it. And also the child tax credit. These things are regarded as spending, but how would that contribute to more tax fairness to enhance the earned income tax credit and have the refundable child tax credit? And I also want you to answer whether or not the child tax credit has caused a disincentive to work. Go for it.
I'm not an expert in the EITC, but I talked to one yesterday, and she said she thought it would be a really good idea to lower the age threshold to 18 for the EITC. The child tax credit doesn't have a disincentive to work. It is income, if it's refundable, it's income that you get even if you don't work, and that's the objection that some people have to it. But there's not really any evidence that it reduced employment in the 1 year it was in effect.
Thank you so much for all of you all witnesses. It's a master class to be on this tax committee and to be able to talk to such experts. Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.
Thank you.